He appears harmless, like a domestic animal, but his actions are always despicable. So far, he has only targeted the weakest sister in the family. The man who should have been shot dead is being controlled by someone in a red suit. They rise up with a strange movement and pull the trigger. Watching the bullets coming towards him and facing these two almost indestructible cyborgs, Xion's mind quickly flashed back to the puppet classic information he had read before. This power controls others' actions through psychic threads. The weakness of puppet mental manipulation is damaging its spine. As for the puppet classic power user's weakness, it is to approach its core directly and destroy its will. Brother, I'm here. Following beside is 17. How could I miss such a fun thing? In the instant when the person fired the gun, she took the initiative to step forward and pulled Xion towards her. The arrival of the younger sister made Xion's movements instantly become extremely sharp. The bullets seemed to slow down to the extreme in his eyes. His figure was like a gust of wind blowing by. A foot stepped out at extreme speed, targeting the modified human holding the gun without any emotional fluctuations. With a click, Xion slightly pressed on his elbow. The twisted sound of flesh and bone intertwining echoed through his arm. The mentally transformed person on the ground completely. No ordinary pain or reaction. Still wanted to lift his leg and twist towards Xion, but was easily dodged by agile Xion. Seizing the opportunity, Xion reached out and grabbed his leg. A chilling smile slowly appeared on his face. His body was arched like a bow, firmly pressed to the ground and unable to move. With Xion's knee pressing on the middle, a crisp sound suddenly rang out. His spine was forcefully broken. The figure of the modified human froze in a twisted and bizarre posture, with only fingers still trembling slightly. One down. A sardonic expression hung on his face, as if he was admiring a toy he had crafted himself. Gecko directly lifted his foot and kicked over the table in front of him, charging heavily towards another modified person. The heavy table carried powerful force, slamming nearly half of his body firmly into the wall. Feeling no pain, he continued to struggle, waving his hands. However, his body wedged in the wall could not move at all. He did not expect his mental modification to be resolved so quickly. The man in the red suit stood there, smiling helplessly, as if resigned to his fate. The gecko pulled out a power user inhibitor. He was about to go up and put it on him. It's not over yet. At this moment, the mother quietly came up behind. With a smiling face, she looked gently at Xion. These words made Xion suddenly alert. He quickly stopped the gecko about to approach. At the same time, the modified man with a broken spine at his feet. There was suddenly a subtle sound of dripping inside the body. Borrowing the power of his younger sister, Spider Classic. Seeing that he has one in his abdomen. A small bomb is flashing red light. Gecko also looked surprised when he saw it. Fuck. Urgently beckoning Xion to retreat. But Xion's next move shocked Gecko even more. He not only showed no intention of running away, but instead squatted down and fiercely pressed on the modified human under his feet. The moment Xion touched the modified human, its body twisted in a way that defied logic. Its limbs and head were twisted like a paper figure, mashed into a lump by brute force. Only then did Xion stand up. Lifting a leg, Xion kicked the modified human in front of him, turning it into a rolling ball like a football. The bomb inside its abdomen was wrapped in the middle. With a loud bang, the bomb exploded in midair, splattering blood and flesh everywhere. Due to being wrapped together, the power of the explosion was greatly reduced. The entire room instantly became chaotic. The two bunny girls were also scared and started screaming. The clean-loving mother covered her nose and mouth with a handkerchief, worried about getting blood on her clothes. She quietly left the room in the moment of the explosion. The man in the red suit also took advantage of the chaos brought by the explosion and escaped through the broken window. How strong must their spiritual level be? Can fold opponents instantly. Can withstand the power of most explosions. Look at the spider classic gecko, showing the power of Xian. The heart couldn't help but be amazed. Soon, he also thought of another possibility. There might be bullets inside the altered human body. The dagger in his hand quickly shot towards it. It accurately pierced into his abdomen. Step forward and grab it. The cold dagger slashed across his abdomen. Indeed, there is a bomb hidden inside the body. What puzzled the gecko is, there is no sign of the bomb exploding. Could it be because it didn't injure his spine? Is this move specifically designed for those in the know, to prepare for the weak points of the modified individual? That man who started cursing loudly at the beginning. He no longer has the temper he had before. Each scene scared him so much that he curled up in the corner of the wall. Xian looked at him with some compassion. It looked like 4 people were playing cards, but in reality, 3 of them were ganging up on him. He must have lost a lot for sure. Looking at the broken window, the man in the red suit had long disappeared. The bomb inside the reformed man's stomach wasn't very powerful. Its purpose was to create chaos to help him escape. Outside the chess and card room, a group of people armed with various weapons were surrounding them in a mighty manner. Leading them was the person who brought Xian and the others into town. He reported to the town sheriff that someone had come here to cause trouble. Gecko also noticed that the commotion here was too loud, attracting the armed forces in town. He advised Xian not to act rashly, as those people had the courage to shoot directly. Xian's attention, however, was not here, as he noticed that his mother was no longer in the room at this time. He asked the gecko to stay and communicate with Sheriff. He then jumped out of the window to continue chasing the man in the red suit. He also wanted to remind Xian about something. There may be 3 geckos of the power user. But before he could finish speaking, Xian had already disappeared. He sighed helplessly. Their squad leader's reaction speed was too fast. He turned around to look at the 2 figures. The hot bunny girl curled up in the corner. His true nature gradually revealed. With a curious look, he asked how old they were. At this time, there were also dense and hurried footsteps coming from outside the room. The dark crowd with guns pointed rushed in towards the gecko. Don't be agitated. Don't be agitated. I don't want to kill you. The gecko quickly raised the gun and dagger in his hands, and smiled at them kindly. Xian, who jumped out of the window, quickly caught up to a crossroads. He saw the man in the red suit rushing to the right side to escape. Just as Xian was about to chase in the right direction. Mother's eyes, however, were looking to the left. It's on the left. The one on the right is just a distraction. Xian immediately changed direction and swiftly sprinted towards the left intersection. Be careful. They are waiting for you. Mom still had a smile on her face, standing behind Xian and watching his departing figure. Chasing to a warehouse, Xian discovered that the red suits were already well prepared. At this moment, he was riding on a motorcycle, twisting the throttle. Expressionless modified humans were scattered in different positions, aiming multiple revolving machine guns at Xian approaching. Do not provoke this man under any circumstances. Don't even think about playing around with him and then safely escaping. 3 power users of the Knight's Order in Qingyang City have cruelly harmed nearly tens of thousands of innocent civilians. Afterwards, they managed to escape safely and evade the pursuit of the city guard patrol. Little do they know, they have provoked the one person in Qingyang City who should not be messed with. That is a true monster, guided all the way by Mama. Xian found one of the members of the Knights in red suit. Unexpectedly, the cunning and sinister red suit placed a bomb inside the modified human they controlled. Taking advantage of the chaos caused by the explosion, they escaped through a broken window. But no matter how he escapes, it's all in vain. It seems like Mom can see through everything, guiding Xian once again to accurately locate his hiding place. Bringing his younger sister along, they chased all the way to the outside of a warehouse. Just as they entered the door, they saw dazzling flames spewing out of the guns around them. They arrived even faster than Red Suit had expected. He controlled the modified human and decisively began shooting at Xian. The extremely powerful multi-barrel rotary machine gun spun rapidly. A dense barrage of bullets flew towards Xian. I was ambushed at the crossroads in Zhejiang before. I was saved from danger thanks to my mother's protection. But this time, he was prepared in advance. He definitely won't suffer the same loss again. His almost indistinct figure approaching the extreme made it almost impossible to see clearly. He dodged all the dense bullets. The man in the red suit sitting on the motorcycle witnessed Xian's strange and rapid movements. Seeing that it was the Spider Classic, he knew that this time he might not be able to escape calmly. He suddenly raised both hands and grabbed his own throat, a sinister smile spreading across his face. Xian, who was dodging bullets, suddenly lost control. Hands squeezed on his own neck. This is the second power of Puppet Classic. Quickly flashed through the information I had seen before. Puppet Classic power user can force others to mimic a specific action. The power range is between 5 to 10 meters. It can affect up to 3 people at most. Xian happened to jump towards the ceiling to climb. After losing control of both hands, his body began to fall. The multiple Gatling guns below were still relentlessly firing at him. Xian hurriedly called for his sister to come and help him untie the rope. If replaced by a gecko of the same species, the Spider Classic instead. Perhaps it would really end in death here. But Xian wouldn't. Because he still has a sister. Haha. Brother, I'll help you. 17 caught Xian, whose body was falling. With a swing forward, he used his little hand to push her up. With a swipe sound, Xian, who was originally falling in midair, suddenly flew forward and landed precisely next to a modified human who was firing a gun. She gently reached out and placed her hand on his shoulder. The younger sister also quickly followed up behind the modified human who was touched by Xian. The entire body's bones made a loud cracking sound instantly. Just like a twisted plastic bottle. The whole body twisted in a strange posture, holding a Gatling gun in his arms, aimed at the other 2 companions. A burst of intense gunfire rang out, controlling Xian the cyborg to directly max out his accuracy. In an instant, pierced through the spines of the other 2 cyborgs. In an instant, the 3 cyborgs were resolved in one fell swoop. Looking at Xian, who was walking towards oneself. The man in the red suit riding a motorcycle suddenly looked terrified. This is impossible. He severely underestimated the power of the man in front of him. Witnessing the panic-stricken look on the man in the red suit's face. Xian's face was filled with an excited expression. You can't aim a gun at me every time. Damn. Watching Xian approaching. The red suit anxiously twisted the throttle. But the car couldn't start at this moment. He quickly abandoned the motorcycle. The invisible red thread was thrown upward. Just as the body was about to soar into the sky, it suddenly seemed to be stuck. He looked down in panic, only to find Xian had appeared next to him without knowing when. Xian firmly grabbed his calf and forcefully flung him down from midair. Don't try to run. The man in the red suit was heavily smashed to the ground. When the man in the red suit used those invisible spiritual threads to prepare to escape, Xian was aware of his intentions. The spiritual threads that ordinary people couldn't see were completely exposed in Xian's eyes. He had encountered this kind of power on the reformed person who appeared near the orphanage before. The spiritual threads can wrap around the target object and achieve mid-air movement within a certain distance. The person in the red suit pressed on the ground was extremely tense. The 7 makeshift reformed individuals had been exhausted. The opponent always has a way to deal with his own escape methods. That's when he quickly reached out and drew the gun hidden at his waist. Go to hell. He aimed at Xian's head and pulled the trigger hard. The bullet streaked through the narrow barrel of the gun. At such close range, there was almost no time for anyone to react and dodge. But Xian's neck was twisted at an extremely contorted and rapid angle. A faint smile remained on his face. The bullet grazed past him. He immediately reached out and grabbed the arm of the person in the red suit who was holding the gun. The arm then visibly twisted. The arm twisted at 160 degrees per second. Xian took the opportunity and threw it. His entire arm in the red suit was torn off forcibly. He curled up on the ground. The intense pain made him wail miserably. It's unclear what the man in the red suit did. The pain only lasted for a moment. He was seen breathing heavily as he slowly stood up. The pained expression on his face gradually faded away. He stared at the Xian in front of him. "You don't look like Spider Classic. I remember Spider Classic wasn't this terrifying." "Not only you have said so. By the way, what about the others?" Xian amiably started chatting with him. The man in the red suit was also not secretive. He openly said they are not here. When the experiment with the mental bomb failed, the boss felt something was wrong. To be on the safe side, they separated from me. Originally, the man in the red suit didn't take it too seriously. He just wanted to tidy up and buy a few more people to complement his puppet. But he didn't expect Xian to arrive so soon. Xian stared at him intently, continuing to ask where the other people in red suits had escaped to. He even added, "If you're unwilling to say, I can ask in a different way." Mozzie in a red suit did not respond. Instead, he took off the mask on his face and smashed it on the ground. Just then, he suddenly started laughing mockingly. "Uh-huh. You really underestimate me, my friend. Never expected that." He, who has always been ruthless towards others, is equally ruthless towards himself. After Xian tore off a sleeve of the red suit, he kindly asked about the whereabouts of the other companions. But the man in the red suit refused to reveal any information. Living in the wilderness, rules and promises are of utmost importance to him. If he loses his reputation and honor, he will end up in a fate worse than death. He even boldly claims that he can control himself like a puppet. Even if Xian dismembers him, he will not feel any pain. It's not over yet. With a smiling face, his mother gently reminded him. This made Xian have to be more cautious because his mother always notices some subtle details. Just as Xian was thinking about where the problem might still exist, the sudden noise from a distance caught his attention. A group of gun-wielding individuals waving flashlights could be seen, pressing Gecko as they walked towards him. No matter how much Gecko boasted about his status in Qingang City along the way, the security patrol personnel showed him no respect at all. Seeing Gecko looking pitiful, holding his head in his hands, Xian looked helpless. What's wrong with this deputy captain? How did he end up being detained? Sheriff Azu walked towards Xian with big strides. Do you guys not know that Blackwater Town strictly prohibits shooting? No matter where you're from. If you dare to cause trouble here, there will be no good ending for you. Following the principle of reasoning whenever possible, Xian took out his identification from Qingang City. He indicated that he was here to arrest the wanted person, and it was the wanted person who fired the first shot. Azu also glanced at the red suit behind Xian at this moment, when he saw his disheveled appearance. Suddenly furious. Knowing that you are from Qingang City. What if you are from Qingang City? This is not Qingang City. Here in Blackwater Town, Lord Snake calls the shots. When Lord Snake is not around, I call the shots. If you want to make an arrest, couldn't you have informed me? Pulling a gun and pointing it at Xian's face. While cursing, also ordered someone to prepare to take away the red suit. Xian didn't expect that after identifying himself from Qingang City, the other party's attitude was still so aggressive. Azu seemed determined to keep the red suit and even threatened to kill Xian and throw them out to feed the dogs. No one could do anything to them. And at this moment, the mother also walked over with interest and pointed her finger at Azu. Xian suddenly understood. He also knew why his mother had just said it wasn't over yet. He looked at Azu with a happy face and said, "You're not normal. This person committed a crime in Qingang City. We have caught him now. But you want to let him go privately, even at the risk of harming both of us." So you don't care about Qingang City at all? Or are you actually the one who is not normal now? The atmosphere on the scene suddenly became tense. Azu was about to be exposed for his scheme. Without hesitation, he pulled out a gun and aimed it at Xion's head. Xion was not afraid at all. Instead, he found it somewhat amusing. Now, both Mom and my younger sister are by my side. Confident to press down on Azu. At the moment of pulling the trigger, he was instantly dismantled. He asked Azu if he had received something in a red suit, such as a rose, and then developed a special fondness for him, even loving him very much. From Azu's reaction, Xion further confirmed his speculation. The red suit and the person who spread roses in Qingang City before seemed to be connected. Therefore, it was normal for him to have something similar to a rose. He must have given Azu something after entering the city, which made Azu increasingly fond of him. This fondness would make Azu do everything to protect him. This is also his final trump card. Everyone around felt absurd after hearing it. How could their sheriff possibly fall in love with a man? Azu immediately cursed at Xion to shut up. But a blush appeared on his face. Even though he was not to blame for falling under someone's influence, his constant banter gradually wiped the smile off Xion's face, replacing it with a hint of displeasure. The gecko with a sense of impending doom. Haha laughed out loud immediately, attracting the attention of everyone present. If the captain himself were really to get angry, it could lead to immeasurable consequences. No pretending. I'm coming clean. The gecko instantly broke free from the two people detaining him. At the same time, he took the guns from their hands, leaving one person stunned and pointing at Azu jokingly. Let's stop here. Whether you are being controlled by others, or you really love him, please stop now. Azu's sudden move startled everyone, but those who had been roaming the wilderness for years showed no signs of fear. Who are you scaring, you bastard? This is our territory. You think you can intimidate all of us with these two lousy guns? Gecko, on the other hand, was excited upon hearing this. The time to show off has come. Do you really think I only have two guns? Only a heavy steel behemoth was seen. As soon as he finished speaking, in an instant, it crashed through the wall and charged forward. This vehicle is equipped with the Qingang City, the latest development in automatic driving and defense systems. It stopped steadily in front of the security patrol. The multi-barreled Gatling guns on the vehicle all popped out and pointed towards them. For a moment, everyone held their breath. Brother, a man can only affect the speed at which you draw your gun. Gecko casually grabbed a horn. We are the special task force sent by Qingang City, ordered to leave the city to capture wanted criminals. The special operations team is right outside your town. 100,000 megaton range plasma missiles, targeted at your town. If you don't want to see a brilliant fireworks display before you die, then hurry up and let someone who can make decisions come out and speak. With the spread of the loudspeaker, modified cars drove in from different locations one by one. The front door of the leading car suddenly opened. A pair of legs in red high heels slowly extended out. Still cradled in their arms was a lazy orange cat. Everyone was startled by the person who got out of the car, because of the shapely and plump woman in front of them. She is the boss of Blackwater Town. Who would have thought that in this chaotic Blackwater Town, the notorious boss Lord Snake would turn out to be a woman? Despite having such a slim and curvy figure, the boss has actually become Lord Snake. Yet, Azu, the underling sheriff, has fallen in love with a man. Xion speculated that Azu must have confiscated something from this man to be influenced this way. Despite Xion revealing the identity of Qingang City, Azu, who is madly in love, still strongly opposes his arrest of the man in the red suit. As the vice captain, Gecko also stopped pretending. The super-level missile of the Qingang City Special Task Force has targeted Blackwater Town. If you don't want this place to be razed to the ground, let the person in charge come out and speak. I have to say, this statement really shocked everyone present. The mastermind behind all the activities in town, Lord Snake, also appeared at the scene at this moment. she ordered her men to lower their guns. Qingang City is not our enemy. Of course, we are not enemies of Qingang City either. The lazy voice carried authority. Upon hearing it, the members of the security patrol immediately dropped their guns. Gecko quickly turned his head to scan her whole body. Obviously, he had not expected that Lord Snake was actually a woman. But still smiling, he greeted her. "If you want to come in and arrest someone, you just need to let us know. There's no need for such a big operation." Lord Snake seemed to have no malicious intent, but rather a hint of complaint in his tone. Exian apologized for this, and explained seriously why he didn't inform Lord Snake in advance, out of fear of alerting him. He will follow the rules of Blackwater Town. Earlier, the gecko fired 2 shots. 1 shot incurs a fine of 1,000. They will pay as promised. But this time caution is right. Exian told Lord Snake about the issue he just discovered. The person under your hand now received a special influence. Will spare no effort to protect the person we want to catch. Lord Snake, don't believe him. He's talking nonsense. Before Exian could finish, Azu jumped out in panic. Lord Snake did not pay attention to him. Instead, he curiously asked what had influenced them. He loves him, Exian said directly. At the same time, he pointed to Azu and the man in the red suit. "Oh, he likes this style. I didn't know." Lord Snake looked a bit surprised, scanning back and forth between Azu and the man in the red suit. In an instant, he became interested. He wanted to see if it was real or fake. Just then, she exchanged a glance with Sangbiao beside her. Sangbiao suddenly understood. He immediately pulled out a spray bottle and pointed it at the man in the red suit's head. This scene scared Azu a lot because he believed that Sangbiao was really willing to shoot. He panicked and begged Lord Snake desperately. "Lord Snake, I beg of you. Considering the many years I have served you, please spare him." Seeing Azu's appearance, Lord Snake couldn't help but chuckle. "I didn't expect there to be such fun things." She asked Exian to wait until she figured it out. "Shall I send the red suit back to Qingang City again?" Exian, however, politely declined her request. He then showed enough respect to Lord Snake. He explained seriously for safety reasons. Before some things were certain, he couldn't let him contact anyone. Then what exactly did he do wrong? You can always tell me, right? Exian also said that he couldn't casually divulge it. They have a confidentiality agreement. He hopes Lord Snake can understand their difficulties. Everyone should be reasonable. Things will be much easier to handle. Lord Snake remained silent, caressing the orange cat in his arms. However, it can be seen that she is starting to feel somewhat displeased at the moment. Exian's gaze shifted to the orange cat in her arms. The orange cat also opened its eyes at this moment and looked at Exian. It saw its fur bristle suddenly. It struggled directly out of Lord Snake's arms, as if it had been stimulated. Its sharp claws tore through Lord Snake's arm. The people on the side seemed to sense a dangerous aura. They quickly pulled out their guns and aimed at Exian and the gecko. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became tense. "It's nothing." Lord Snake looked at the claw marks on his arm, blood oozing out. His expression remained unchanged. She opened her delicate mouth and extended her soft tongue, gently licking the wound. The sleek gecko also sensed that something was amiss. Reacted quickly. "Lord Snake, it's not that we are unreasonable. It's just that there are regulations from above. See, the geckos show the Department of Special Circumstances identification." Lord Snake suddenly looked startled. "It's worth it for you to come such a long way to catch someone. The crime he committed must be serious, right?" Lord Snake's attitude began to change. His tone became much gentler. He gestured to Sangbiao next to him to tie up Azu. Poor Azu was still crying pitifully and pleading for mercy for his red suit. This scene couldn't help but make the people around him feel ridiculous. It was as if they were watching a farce unfold. Speaking of which, our Blackwater Town and Qingang City are also connected. We rely on the food from Qingyang City to get through the winter. It is also thanks to Qingyang City's alcohol that we can live like decent people. Lord Snake's words helped to ease the atmosphere on the scene. She chatted casually and apologized to Xian for today's matter. After all, there are many people under her, and many of them are immature. Look at this bastard named Azu. He usually stares at my butt every day. Who would have known that he actually likes this kind of tune? Seeing the two of them being polite to each other, the subordinates were all stunned. When did their boss become so reasonable? With the enthusiastic willingness to help from Sister Snake, Xian borrowed a warehouse from her. He needed to ask about something related to the man in the red suit. It seems like an interrogation is about to happen. Sister Snake also thoughtfully wants to bring in various types of torture tools. Xian quickly declined. We are already very grateful that you waived our fine. Sister Snake was taken aback after hearing this. Is this the main point? Also, it seems like she didn't mention the fine herself. Wearing a red suit, the two arrived at the warehouse. The one in the red suit spoke first. There's no need for Xian to expend energy. I can make myself not feel pain. Any punishment is useless for me. Even if it's someone from the dream-weaving class or a power user from the hypnotic class, they won't be of any use. Xian slowly lowered the warehouse's rolling shutter and spoke in a friendly voice. It's okay. I don't intend to use force on you. So how do you plan to interrogate me? The person in the red suit, for some unknown reason, began to feel a bit nervous. Xian stood still and said, I'm just an ordinary office worker. I've never learned how to interrogate anyone. I hope you take the initiative to speak, because a complete story can only come from your own words. Just then, he softly called out for his sister. Faint laughter echoed in the dark warehouse. The person in the red suit suddenly felt a chill down their spine. It seemed as if a cold little hand was touching them. 17 behind him already had excited eyes shining brightly. Let's get started. Please type a message or ask a question so I can assist you further. Because it can make oneself feel no pain. Even though he was interrogated, he said everything was just futile. But when he looked at the motionless Xian in front of him, an inexplicable sense of unease crept into his heart. In the dark warehouse, the man in the red suit suddenly felt a cold little hand touching him. An indescribable sense of panic exploded in his mind in an instant. Little brother, how should I address you? Lord Snake, waiting outside, lit an expired cigar. Chatted with a gecko. I'm called Mike, and he's called Tony. The gecko smiled and took the cigar handed to him, without revealing their real names to Lord Snake. The gecko was choked by the pungent smell and coughed, while Lord Snake elegantly puffed out smoke rings. This is something from before the disaster. Rebaked. Today you guys are very confident. No matter what the situation is, you can handle me, this weak woman? Lord Snake admired the geckos, being pointed at by so many guns without even blinking an eye. Gecko did not hide this issue. He said he only had half the confidence, and it had to be in close proximity. He, showing his true colors as a man, unconsciously kept his gaze on Lord Snake. After a brief pause, he pointed to the warehouse behind him. If it were our squad leader, he wouldn't just deal with you. It's possible he would deal with everyone. He can't stand it when others are unreasonable with him. At this time, Sangbiao also asked about what happened to Azu. It turned out that Azu received a gold brick from the man in the red suit, and then he went crazy. He helped him recruit people and assisted in torturing them. Throughout, he believed he had found true love. This person's methods are quite terrifying. But the fact that both of you were able to catch him shows that you are obviously more powerful. People like you must be highly valued in Qingyang City, right? Asking about this. The gecko's face was full of pride as he truthfully spoke about his privileges in Qingyang City. The privilege to conveniently take care of business for the young lady without getting caught. But this is just one of them. He was telling Lord Snake about his feelings staying in the city. That is the way life should be. Lord Snake, It is indeed quite lively here. But there is one downside. It's a bit too crazy, boo. Inside the warehouse behind you. Suddenly there was a piercing scream in a red suit, tearing the heart and lungs. The scream was so loud that it instantly gave people goosebumps all over. I can't imagine what torture it is. Only something unimaginable could make someone scream like that. The sound contains pain and fear. Shock and fear. It even causes an indescribable shudder. Until the sound became silent. Xian opened the warehouse roller shutter door and walked out slowly. There was still a look of being frightened on his face. The gecko was stunned by this. What is he afraid of? Scared by the scream? But wasn't the scream from the man in the red suit? All questions have been asked. Due to the need to depart quickly, there is no time to send the man in the red suit back to Qingyang City. Xian asked Lord Snake if he could be kept here first. Someone from Qingyang City will come to take him back. Lord Snake just recovered from his shock earlier. Little brother Tony, do you believe me? Although Xian didn't know why she called herself Tony, she still nodded to indicate her belief. Looking at the perfectly unscathed red suit in the warehouse, Lord Snake trembled all over. He licked his lips. Believing me is a good thing, little brother, but this person isn't quite normal. Can I handle him? Monster! Monster! They're all monsters. The man in the red suit saw someone looking at him, and suddenly started screaming in hysteria, his eyes revealing a deep sense of fear. The people around watched him in his current state, feeling inexplicably oppressed. But Xian reassured everyone not to worry. He is perfectly normal now. The two of them then drove away from Blackwater Town. Xian kept praising Lord Snake, saying that he is not only generous, but also rational. Are you praising Lord Snake because she gave you a motorcycle? The gecko, who had been immersed in fear all along, finally couldn't help but speak. Not only that, Lord Snake not only gave us the red suit but also all the valuable things. The fine for shooting in town was also paid by Lord Snake. He even helped us refuel for free. He also gave us food and local specialties as gifts. It is regrettable that there is one thing that both of them feel sympathetic about. Due to regulations, they cannot leave their contact details for Lord Snake. Seeing that the gecko finally spoke, Xian had a heartfelt conversation with him. Xian thought that while in Blackwater Town, he had ordered the gecko as a captain, which made him unhappy. After all, this is in the Department of Special Circumstances. The first peer colleague I got to know. Also the teammate I have cooperated with the most. Xian expressed that he really considers the gecko as a friend. The gecko was so excited after hearing that. Brother, you are quite chatty. We are not just friends. We are brothers. It seems like you've figured something out. He carefully asked Xian again. Are your uncle, auntie, and little sister okay with us being friends? Xian subconsciously glanced at her mother sitting in the back seat, touching up her makeup. And his mother just kindly reminded him. When making friends, sometimes you can't really tell them everything. Otherwise, it will only create distance. Gecko asked Xian what was interrogated in Blackwater Town. Why are you so anxious to set out? He took out a small notebook and told Gecko everything he had been interrogated. The real name of Red Suit is Chongchen. The details even included how many women Red Suit had. 3 years ago, he caught Ran Qin's eye. From him, he learned that Ran Qin's real name is Sihua Shang. After a confrontation, Ran Qin did not kill him. Instead, she invited him to join the Knights. Ran Qin is the captain responsible for accepting commission tasks. Every time they receive a commission, Ran Qin contacts them to arrange a place for delivery. This time, they went to Qingyang City just to steal that painting. Also, detonate the Crying Boy's spiritual pollution bomb, record the data, and hand it over to the organization that sells bombs. In their team, there are 3 power users and 4 experienced mercenaries. The Rose contamination event was created by a member named Big Head Ghost. They have an agreement among themselves not to actively inquire about each other's powers. But for Ranchine, he only left one word. Unkillable. Unkillable? Gecko was also stunned after hearing it. Could it be that Ranchine is really like their internal speculation, capable of regeneration? The battles among power users are already extremely dangerous, especially when facing power users with unknown powers. But a smile gradually appeared on Xion's face, because he inquired about the whereabouts of Ranchine. His father, who is imprisoned in the old building, is gulping down strong liquor to suppress that unprecedented sense of anticipation in his heart. The once most powerful ultimate, with the strongest pollution power he possesses. Finally, he welcomes an opportunity for release. And this opportunity is soon to come. Because Xion found Ranchine's hiding place from the mouth of the man in the red suit. At the end of Highway 85. A place called Happy Town. Upon hearing this name, the gecko quickly stepped on the brake. The off-road vehicle, traveling at high speed, suddenly came to a halt. 17, who had just climbed onto the roof, was once again thrown out by the sudden acceleration. His face was tense and trembling. He could not believe it, and confirmed with Xion again. What the gecko did not know is 17 is lying on the car hood. He is glaring at him ferociously, baring his teeth. He quickly pulled out a map, pointing to an area marked with skulls. The area he pointed to is exactly the region of Happy Town. Skull heads marked on the map. It means this area is off limits. Otherwise, there is no way back. Although Qingyang City has now explored the surrounding major forces and abandoned cities, there are still some extremely mysterious areas that they know nothing about to this day. Such places are called the Forbidden Area. As long as you enter the restricted area, you will either go crazy or disappear. And this Happy Town can be said to be the most dangerous one. It sounds like a great place to travel, doesn't it? After listening to the gecko's words, Mom looked at 17 and smiled. 17, who had just climbed into the car, excitedly nodded vigorously, already throwing the unhappiness from just now to the back of his mind. Seeing that the family members have all expressed their opinions, Xion casually let the gecko set off directly. Whether or not the restricted area, people still need to be caught back. The gecko really doesn't want to go to that unknown and terrifying place. But he has no room to refuse at all. He dare not refuse. He reported the latest situation to the headquarters. It led to the main culprit of BL in Qingyang City, Ranchine. It is highly likely that he is hiding in Happy Town, as suggested by the single unit of the Special Task Force. They will continue the investigation in Happy Town. After reporting, Gecko looked very down. He handed a tablet to Xion. Originally still holding hope for the headquarters meeting, he strongly tried to dissuade them from entering. But things turned out contrary to expectations. Headquarters unexpectedly agreed, and even sent them the information they currently know. They mentioned that it would be a good opportunity to explore these mysterious areas. Bringing back the records could also serve as a mission. That's it. Gecko reluctantly drove towards the direction of Happy Town. Xion sat in the car, looking at the limited information displayed on the tablet. S-level Forbidden Area Happy Town. Approaching this area will cause dizziness, irritability, fainting, hallucinations, spasms, and other reactions. Going deeper than 50 meters into the psychic power field will lead to inability to return and disappearance from the sight of all witnesses. He saw a photo as he slid the screen. They are residents of Happy Town. Their wooden expressions always carry a smile. It is said in the records that the town was first found to be unusual 10 years ago. This place is isolated from the world and has little contact with people. However, residents occasionally go out. They exchange some daily necessities with people outside in exchange for food. Someone once detained residents for questioning while they were out. However, on the same night, the residents of Happy Town, along with the interrogators and interrogation reports, mysteriously disappeared without a trace. The road to Happy Town unexpectedly clear. They quickly arrived just 10 kilometers away from Happy Town. Due to the darkness and a long day of driving, they decided not to continue. They chose to take a rest for the night. Watching Gecko checking the firearm in his hand, Exion knew he was under a lot of mental pressure. Exion smiled and reassured him not to be afraid. He would go in by himself when the time comes. After completing the task, he would signal Gecko. "Bro, you also see that I'm scared, huh?" Seeing through his inner vulnerability, Gecko directly came clean. "I'm sorry to hear that." Before the power appears. "Bro, I'm just a little bully. The kind that gets beaten up every day. Don't be fooled by how suave I am now. It's all an act I put on. But we have already come out to do things together. How can we not take any responsibility? This time, no matter what monsters are inside, I will go in with you and face it together. Anyway, I have brought plenty of special bullets. I am not afraid of anything." Gecko's sincerity touched Exion slightly. However, he still decided to let Gecko guard outside. "This town. It's better for you not to go in. It's too dangerous." He stood up and looked towards the direction of Qingang City. The crimson moonlight enveloped the entire old building. Exion seemed to be able to see his father inside the house. Exion was full of anticipation, brewing a certain power. After all, he had promised him. "The danger that I mentioned. Not referring to Happy Town, but me instead." He told the Gecko truthfully. "If Happy Town is very dangerous, then I might be even more dangerous." Bringing back Ran Qin and the others to Qingang City was his own idea, not Gecko's. So Exion doesn't want to drag him into this. Otherwise, if something really goes wrong, he would feel quite guilty. The night has passed. Gecko has prepared the supplies for Exion. As the car goes further, the road becomes harder to navigate. They can only walk in on foot through a small path. After saying hello to Gecko, Exion got off the car carrying a backpack. His mother and sister also got off with him. Seeing Exion looking like he was going on an outing, Gecko couldn't help but marvel at his courage. The path was shrouded in fog, and the visibility was getting lower. Vaguely, Gecko seemed to see two shadows, one tall and one short, beside Exion. Could it be his family? And, is there one more? The Gecko was suddenly panicked. Subconsciously, it turned its head to look at the empty carriage. "Uncle, it's all in the past now. Are you not going?" The journey is even farther than Exion imagined. Mom found that she disappeared after walking for a while, thinking that she probably got lost. High heels must be hard to walk in. Suddenly, 17 pointed to a distance and asked his older brother to look quickly. Looking up in the direction indicated by his younger sister, a sudden feeling of dizziness and blurred vision hit instantly. It's like watching an old TV screen, with various static and ghostly images flickering from time to time. This place is designated as an S-level forbidden area called Happy Town. The residents inside always have a happy smile on their faces. Just as Exion approached the town, her vision suddenly became blurry. The brain felt as if it had experienced some kind of impact. He composed himself. The headache gradually faded away. Everything in front of his eyes began to clear up. He soon realized that he was in the middle of a farmland, anticipating that he might run into some trouble next. After all, the other side still has two power users, coupled with the fact that Happy Town itself is somewhat dangerous. "Are you scared of him, little sister?" "I had promised my father before I came out this time to let him out to help." 17, however, waved his little fist to show that he was not afraid, and also threatened to wait until he grew up. He definitely wanted to turn him into a toy. Hit him every day. "I'm scared. He has never been here." Ignoring Exion's confusion, 17, who had come out of his embrace, pointed forward. "Brother, we have arrived." What puzzled Exion was that when he separated from the Gecko, it was clearly morning, but now the red moon had already risen. Could it be that he had walked for a whole day? Walking along the way, they arrived at a flower field. He recorded what he saw in his notebook, detailing how well the crops were growing in the fields. After all, headquarters had also mentioned that this exploration was an extra task. Since it was a task, there would be a reward, so he had to keep a record. All the people in the flower field suddenly turned their gaze towards him, looking at him with friendly smiles on their faces. Xian couldn't help but sigh. These are truly a group of hardworking people. Working so late. He walked towards the closest girl to him and politely greeted her. Then, he took out a photo of Ranqin, wanting to inquire about Ranqin's whereabouts. However, the girl remained motionless, smiling at Xian. It seemed like he needed to offer something in return. So, he reluctantly reached into his pocket, thinking he could later reimburse it to headquarters. Can you tell me like this? Seeing the girl reach out to take the 50 yuan he handed her, Xian quietly waited for her response. The girl held the money in her hand, but did not answer his question. She still maintained a kind smile, looking at Xian. If you don't want to say, it's fine. Xian prepared to take back his money, but he found that the girl had no intention of letting go. She was still holding tightly onto the 50 yuan. This made Xian a little angry, but he was also afraid of pulling the money too hard and tearing it. The sister standing aside couldn't bear to watch and also came over to help her brother. At 17 broke the girl's fingers one by one. The 50 pieces were finally intact. They returned to Xian's pocket. Since she refused to talk, Xian had to find out on her own. And the girl seemed to start acting strangely. She silently watched Xian enter the town. Upon entering the town, what came into view were rows of connected houses. The scale was huge, feeling like it could accommodate tens of thousands of people. Yet it was unusually quiet. Xian grabbed the doorknob of one of the doors, wanting to open it and take a look inside. Thinking of Ranqin and the others, they should be hiding in one of these houses. Just as she was about to open the door, suddenly, there was a clicking sound behind her. Looking back, she saw her mom taking out scissors from her shoulder bag. She didn't know when her mom appeared beside her. She smiled and explained to Xian. Just now, you almost got some dirt on you. It's a very nice town here. It's not only peaceful, but the flowers and houses are also nice. Compared to the chaotic Blackwater town, this place is like paradise. Xian also agreed with her mom's words. The people here are very friendly too. As soon as she finished speaking, they heard rustling sounds coming from not far away. Turning around to look carefully, Xian noticed a dense crowd hiding in the shadows, holding various weapons and staring intensely at them. This made Xian feel strange. How did they suddenly become like this? They were very polite just now. It's none of my business. Xian's mom shrugged in response to the situation. Recalling that something almost stained him just now, after being cut off by his mother, these people became hostile towards him. Fortunately, they don't seem to be rushing up immediately. Xian still feels that it is important to find Ranqin first. But the people here aren't speaking, so he can only search room by room. When Xian was utterly clueless, his mother smiled and said, When you and your sister were fighting over someone else's money, I was already in town. It seems that not all rooms had lights just now. Xian instantly found his way with his mother's words. The townspeople are accustomed to living in the dark, but Ranqin and his friends don't have this habit. He quickly asked his mother which room had lights on. It seems to be over there. His mother pointed in a direction. She didn't see clearly, as she was too busy admiring the beautiful flowers. There are so many malicious people this time. Sister, you didn't even demand toys? Following the direction his mom pointed, they walked along the way. More and more dark shadows gathered behind them. Seeing his brother casting strange glances, 17 pursed her lips and said disdainfully that they were already toys, things that had been played with by others. She didn't want them. At this moment, the mother stopped her steps. She only vaguely remembered it was around this location, but couldn't recall the specific room. Then she picked up the scissors again and gently made a cut behind Xian. Did you smell anything? Exian suddenly sniffed her nose, seeming to have caught a familiar scent. It's the smell of meat. Instantly, I remembered the first time I met Ranchine. He always seemed like he could never eat enough. It seems they should be nearby. Exian is worried that they might escape in the confusion, as she can't pinpoint which one it is. The residents also seem like they can't hold back much longer. At this moment, a little boy emerged from the crowd and ran towards Exian. "Uncle, eat a jujube." The boy offered a sour jujube he held in his hand. Exian, seeing the sincerity on the boy's face, did not refuse. She took the jujube and handed it to 17. Suddenly, she had an idea of how to find Ranchine among all these houses. The pine and cypress on the hill behind are easily flammable. Let's go get some and set this entire room on fire. This way, we won't have to go and open the doors one by one. The people inside will come out on their own. Just as Exian was about to act, a voice came from the room. "You are not really going to do this, are you?" The person who opened the wooden door is none other than Ranchine, the one I was looking for. Facing this unknown and seemingly invincible power user, what will Exian do? The father inside the old building is already restless. Perhaps it is really time to let him come out. Spanning over 1,000 miles, finally seeing Ranchine, who has been searched for many days in Happy Town. Exian can find his way here. I can infer that Chongqing, wearing a red suit, must have fallen into his hands. Based on Ranchine's understanding of Chongqing, he wouldn't confess so quickly. He's not afraid of pain. Besides, they had a prior agreement that even if captured, he must hold out for 3 days before talking. Therefore, Ranchine is very curious about what Exian has done to him. "Strictly speaking, I didn't do anything to him personally," he confessed voluntarily. "After killing so many people in Qingyang City, he should have expected us to come looking for him." Ranchine was a little surprised after hearing this. He thought the urgency was due to the discovery of the value of that painting. He didn't expect it was for those who died in Qingyang City. He couldn't help but burst into laughter. He told Exian what he was thinking in his heart. As a power user, for ordinary people, we are like gods. What are a few lives worth? Under the red moon is our world. We do whatever we want. Exian seems to be watching a lunatic. It's not just a few lives. Those are all living people. You should read more books. The textbook says that there is no God in this world. Even if there is, it wouldn't be like you. So at most, you're just a lunatic. He walked forward step by step. His mother behind him reminded Exian to be careful at this moment. Ranchine's laughter suddenly quieted down. He stared coldly at Exian, who was coming towards him. In the room behind him, a sudden flash of firelight appeared. Deafening gunfire followed closely behind. The dense bullets blocked Exian's forward steps. If she retreats to dodge the bullets at this moment, Ranchine will escape. But Ranchine is right within shouting distance. He doesn't want to retreat. Go. Go do what you want to do. A gentle voice sounded in your ears. Mother quietly came to his side. She took the bullet pouring down like a storm for him. Bullets kept hitting her, one after another. But Mother remained elegant as ever. She even seemed to show a hint of excitement. Exian quickly pounced towards Ranchine, who was about to escape. The power of Ranchine is unknown in the data, although Exian is unsure how to defeat Ranchine. But just like dealing with a modified human, damaging his spine surely wouldn't hurt. When he lifted his hand and accurately targeted Ranchine's spine, Ranchine, who was originally facing away from him, suddenly turned around and shot. Exian dodged in a strange and contorted manner, avoiding Ranchine's bullets skillfully as it grazed past him. Ranchine was instantly surprised. He knew well that once caught in Spider Classic's close combat, he had no chance of contending with it. Exian's 5 fingers were already reaching out, originally aimed at grabbing his spine. But since he suddenly turned around, then goes straight for the heart. With a splashing sound, his palm pierced Ranchine's chest fiercely. Xian tightened his 5 fingers and gripped it tightly, feeling the warm and surging sensation in his palm. Then, he forcefully pulled it outwards. Under the moonlight, the heart, still beating, appeared particularly crimson. Ran Qin, whose heart had been removed, showed no sign of pain. Instead, he even revealed a hint of smile. A soft sigh from his mother could be heard behind him. Xian finally realized what had happened. Oops. Accidentally used lethal force. He hurriedly stuffed the heart back in. He thought thankfully it wasn't squeezed to burst. It should still be usable. Recalling the previous Wang Chui incident, everything started with the killing of Ran Qin. After Wang Chui killed Ran Qin, Wang Chui became like Ran Qin. Then, there were countless people seeking revenge on him. What will happen this time? Ran Qin, who had fallen to the ground and died. At this moment, changes started to occur on his body. A tree rapidly grew out of his body, continuously extending upwards. After a while, the tree trunk sprouted a vine, resembling a living creature. Xian quietly exclaimed, "Not good!" Quickly withdrew and retreated backwards. The vines high above swung at this moment, suddenly rushing towards Xian's position. No, its target is not me. Xian realized something was wrong, quickly tearing off the vine blocking beside him. But it was too late. The vine's target was indeed the townspeople. Only to see the resident, who was entwined. The smile that was originally on their face began to change. The pupils began to dilate. They stared fiercely at Xian. "Siwu Zhang! How dare you harm me?" He shouted Ran Qin's real name, waving the sickle in his hand as he charged towards Xian. In his eyes, Xian turned into Ran Qin. Recalling the previous Wang Chui incident, Xian realized he couldn't kill this resident. If one was killed, 2 more would come. It would keep increasing. But things turned out contrary to his wishes. Xian didn't kill him. Instead, he turned the sickle towards his own throat. With hatred still lingering in his mouth, he shouted, "Siwu Zhang, I will definitely kill you, even if I die. I will kill you for sure too." Self-destruction. This scene seems familiar, just like those people trapped in the basement at that time. When it becomes clear that revenge is hopeless, they begin to attack each other. Completing the steps of revenge and being killed opens the next phase. The residents of this town feel that they cannot kill Xian, so they choose to commit suicide directly. They have completed this step. The tree of Ran Qin has grown a second vine again. Although Xian tried to cut it off, the severed vine still seemed to possess a life of its own, flying forward. Eventually, it entwined around the bodies of 2 residents, the same as the first one. Their expressions began to change. The residents are so foolish that it gives Xian a headache. Even with so much happening around them, they still foolishly gather here. This has completely become Ran Qin's nourishment. Could it be that Ran Qin chose to hide here because of this characteristic of the townspeople? How to break this cycle? When Xian was about to tear Ran Qin's body directly. Mother, however, does not recommend it. Tearing him apart now will only create 2 pollution sources, and will instead help him spread faster. 17's eyes lit up with excitement, urging his older brother to hurry up. And that tree is continuing to grow at a crazy speed. More and more residents are being affected by pollution. The rate of revenge this time is even faster than the Wang Chui incident. There is almost no time gap. The situation makes Xian feel helpless. If Ran Qin cannot be torn apart, then just let father come over to resolve it directly. At the moment when his whole body was cursed, Xian finally made a decision. With a bang, the door of the old building in Qingyang City rang out. That man was released. At first, Xian felt that this timing was not suitable for letting father out. He knew well that with father's temper, he wouldn't tolerate being pursued by these avengers. He would swiftly deal with them. Instead, he directly accelerated the contamination power of Ran Qin crazily. In a way, father and Ran Qin are a perfect match. Soon, It won't be long before the entire town is contaminated. I have also thought about letting my sister directly gnaw on that tree. But this time Ranchine is different from the last time. Worried that my sister might eat it. Not necessarily easy to digest. Xian dodged the vengeful residents while analyzing Ranchine's power. Ranchine, once killed, will turn into a pollution source, contaminating the surrounding people and turning them into a part of itself. But why would those polluted individuals seek revenge on Ranchine? Also, why did the pollution speed of Ranchine increase this time? Watching Xian's distressed and thoughtful look, his mother's gentle voice sounded behind him. Why must it be understood as his power? Why can't it be the price he paid? Yes. After Ranchine becomes pollution source, it will devour the spirits of the people nearby, turning them into part of itself. However, these contaminated people hold great hatred towards Ranchine. They want to kill Ranchine. This is the price Ranchine has to pay for contaminating others. Mom's words. Xian's mind, full of doubts, suddenly became clear. And Ranchine is the one who transferred the hatred of these people towards him onto Xian. The residents mistook Xian for Ranchine, hence seeking revenge on him. The tree, with more and more consumed spirits, started growing human-shaped fruits along its vines one by one. It's like a curse. But how did Ranchine transfer the hatred towards himself to Xian? Xian escaped all the way and came to his mother's side. Found it. It seems that Xian's mother has found something in Xian. Click. A sudden intense pain came from the back. It looks like it is Ranchine who makes these villagers hate you. Xian lowered his head and looked at the object thrown out by his mother. It turned out to be a face that looks like Ranchine. It grew on Xian's body without him knowing. Seeing the flesh that was cut off and fell on the ground, all the Avengers rushed up immediately. They were like hungry ghosts, crazily devouring Ranchine's face with endless hatred. Xian finally understood why Wang Chui had turned into Ranchine back then. Luckily, with the help of family, they made it through. The Avengers suddenly stopped all movements. Their expressions started to look confused. It seems that after they devoured that piece of skin, it was equivalent to completing their revenge. The grudges were also eliminated along with it. The pollution has stopped. Something seems to have appeared on the trunk of the tree. 17 also seems to have discovered something and ran towards the side. Great. I feel this growth rate for the first time.